And we're now live as Heber Jones. Hello, I'm John from Broadsheet, and you're very welcome to Tomorrow Tonight. We're joined by public affairs consultant Heber Rowan, Broadsheet columnist. Good evening, Heber.
Hello, John. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Or should I say good night?
Good night. You had a little evening nap.
I did. Hence the yawn just as we went live. But a quick hour of a little kip before coming back on air for the chat.
And sure, why not? Why not? How have you been this past week?
Busy with a lot of DIY.
Right.
So a lot of painting and gardening. It has been busy times in that regard. So it is good to have a few projects to keep oneself occupied.
Yeah. No column, I noticed, but I guess the news didn't strike.
No, not yet. But, did you publish that other one that we mentioned before of mine about my forays?
Yes, I am actually, and because I was going to post it last Friday and I'd forgotten, so
okay.
We're going to post it this Friday.
Okay.
Kind of ginger special. Yeah. So, you were holding off till we posted that. Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were going to, but.
Oh, sure, yeah, no problem. I mean, we'll take your reheated seconds. Don't worry.
Oh, sure. Well, any sort of day, but so in the news today and this past week.
Sorry. Can I just? I want to go first to a thing that was on tonight on Virgin.
Oh yes, yes.
Just this evening. I just wanted just a quick.
With Neil Richmond.
With Neil Richmond, exactly, and Breed Smith.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah. All good.
Okay. I'll just play this then. This is Fine Gael's Neil Richmond.
Bringing in mandatory hotel quarantine for every country in the land isn't going to remove community transmission. It isn't going to address the.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
What has been brought in has been important. It set the Brazilian variant out. It was caught in quarantine. That was very effective. But people will tell you that, no, it should be very simple, that you just simply bring a mandatory hotel quarantine for every peninsula state, and ultimately we have 3 airports in Northern Ireland where people can just direct from over the border.
So the government dreams up a list of 30-odd countries and then says that'll do it. While there's variants rampant in countries like France, Germany, and Italy, where there's frequent flights in and out of the country all the time. Now, I don't like this no more than you do, but we need to bring the figures down. We need to get the level of infection right down. And keeping the airports and the travel open is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. And I honestly believe that the problem the government has is that they're being lobbied by IBEC, by ISME, by the tourism industry, by the hospitality industry, just like they were before Christmas. And they feel the pressure of big business, and their own base, both Fianna Fáil and Fianna Gael's base, are made up of those organisations. You feel the pressure of that on the one hand, and on the other hand, you should be doing what's right for the country.
We're looking at the factual challenges. Let's look at the factual challenges, like you talk about.
It's a repeat of what happened before
Christmas. In Britain, those that were stopped, they simply went up to Northern Ireland. This isn't the silver bullet that you're talking about. Bringing in mandatory hotel quarantine for every country isn't going to remove community.
Yeah, there was another clip that was doing the rounds of that discussion with a member of the Garda Síochána Representative Association complaining about the debate that's happening about the teachers getting the vaccine versus the guards.
Yeah.
And the public seems to be on the side of the guards, who are right there in the front lines in a rather perilous way that the teachers may not be. And the teachers are threatening industrial action over this. And it is something that is...
Well, do you want me to play that? I think I have...
Yeah, go ahead. No, it's relevant.
I'm not too sure. Is it Antoinette?
I think so, yes.
From the... Oh, yeah, 1 second. I'll just play it.
Yeah, it's a short clip.
Yeah.
situations. We found ourselves,
Okay, one second.
Matt, we find ourselves in unavoidable situations. We found ourselves last weekend dealing with a situation in relation to hotel quarantining. Now, can I just tell you about hotel quarantining briefly? Every other person that's involved in hotel quarantining, from the hotel staff to private security to defence forces, are all vaccinated. And I'd like to ask Neil, why government think it's okay to protect every one of those people involved in hotel quarantining and not protect Gardaí? As a result of what we had to deal with last weekend, 7 members of An Garda Síochána had to go into self-isolation. There's no protected place for guards to self-isolate. They go home to their families. They go and live with their elderly parents, with their children. And I would like to ask Neil, if government have a responsibility towards An Garda Síochána, why does he think it's okay to continually expose us to environments where we have no choice? We had a member who went recently into an A&E department to a highly aggressive male inside in a hospital, spat, assaulted the Gardaí, knocked him to the ground. The security staff, the nurses, the doctors, and everybody else in there was vaccinated, and the Gardaí weren't.
Yeah.
So there you have continued examples where guards cannot avoid it, and where we then go back. And when we leave that A&E, by the way, the next call is to deliver groceries to somebody. The next call is to do domestic violence. So are we transmitting this as we go along, and why are we continually exposed?
No, and that's a very fair concern, and I completely understand it. And I know throughout this process, the relationship between government, the Gardaí and the representative organisations has worked for as much accommodation, looking for extra equipment, looking for extra Gardaí.
Okay. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm reminded when we think of it in consideration that the Gardaí have to have quite robust measures and preparations for getting stabbed with a HIV-ridden needle, as occasionally does happen. The Gardaí are really in a dangerous line of work, and there is a certain unfairness that the physical danger they already experience in their day-to-day work is exacerbated by an argument that maybe the teachers deserve the vaccine more than the guards. I think that ultimately it's
even the teachers aren't saying that. I mean, isn't that a false
equivalence?
Yeah, or no, rather a false kind of row, really. You know, trying to divide the teachers and the Gardaí. I mean, they all presumably want to be vaccinated, and they all feel that they're priority to be vaccinated. No?
Yeah, well,
it's not teachers versus Gardaí.
No, it's not pitted as directly against that. It's more pitted against Stephen Donnelly, the government.
Yeah, sure. Can I ask you, Heber, just on the first one with Breed Smith? They have been saying, as the left in lockstep have been saying, because it kind of almost a zero COVID strategy, close all the airports, and to have done this back in March, she's saying.
Well, Neil did have a point in that when the UK was closed down, more people would just go through the border of north of Ireland, and it is fair that mandatory quarantine in Ireland is kind of pointless when we have an open border with the UK. Essentially, people could just fly to Belfast, then drive down, get away with it. It's no problem if they really wanted to, and it certainly has been done a lot. The thing is that it does fly in the face of business interests, as she mentioned. Whether that's actually a factor, I don't think that actively is. I think that.
But she talks about business interests. The small business person is not.
It's not flying
business, and they are
flying over. And I think it's perhaps a red herring mentioning tourism. Like at the moment, there is no tourism. That is it. And I think that she's trying to make an argument out of what she can, but saying it's lobbying from on board Fáilte and another
IBEC and stuff.
I don't believe that. I think that's perhaps a political twist she wants to try and eke from it, to sort of pit the small man, ordinary person against the might of corporate interests.
Rattling
and
business.
You know, that certainly happens in many other aspects of life, but I wouldn't say it's about this.
But it doesn't make, to me, it simply doesn't make sense. Can they not see that the average person, their potential voter, is being hit with this in so many ways, and would be if more, if there was more clampdowns, more airports closed? Can't they see that? Can't the left see that? No.
Well, the left, everyone has their own prejudices around what they choose to see and what they want to see for their own self-belief, and how they reconcile that with their own cognitive dissonances, of course, with anything.
Yeah. But they're doubling down on this. It doesn't seem to make any sense, because, as they haven't been, the government has been pandered. The government have adhered to what they've been told by the WHO, and they've gone they've overreached as usual, but we've been the best boy in the class. To further clamp down the country, I'm not sure what Breed Smith would achieve.
Yeah, if anything, we are genuinely headed out of lockdowns in due course, and whatever about threats of further variants that may be more dangerous, the reality is this will be over, and we will have normality in the autumn, most likely. The way the expected doses coming in the next 3 months will be, the vaccine supply will be sufficient to have some normality by the late summer, July at the very latest, I would say.
Okay, can I just add, there was some more rioting this evening in
Yes, that was the really serious. Can you show the video?
Yeah, I just want to show this photograph. It's incredible image of a double-decker bus on fire.
On the Larnhill Road, I believe.
Yeah.
Shankill Road, sorry.
Yeah, the Shankill area. This is somebody saying that the bus driver is still in it when this was.
So what we're looking at is a petrol bomb being thrown at a city bus, and the driver is inside it. It's a normal day of work for that bus driver, but the violence has just gotten worse. And on Twitter this afternoon, there was a lot of criticism of Neil Richmond liking a tweet from Arlene Foster, the DUP's First Minister in the north of Ireland, saying that all what was happening was not protest, and that it is pure vandalism and wanton destruction. The discussions online say that it's all a diversion against Sinn Féin and the movements to have a border poll within the next year or two, potentially, with Sinn Féin entering government whenever that will happen. And I think anyone who's realistic will say that Sinn Féin will be in government in coalition or as a junior or senior partner in the next government. It's looking like that. But the tensions that have been in the north of Ireland the last number of weeks have been arguably from that. For the past 5 days, violence has come out on the streets of Belfast once again with youths. And now we're looking at more than just stones being thrown at police vehicles. Now that's irreparable damage to the city. A whole bus is destroyed, and how will it go from here? It's going to get worse. And only today, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson finally commented online about the violence that has been happening in Northern Ireland, and a lot of people quite unhappy that only now he's finally taking notice. But the issue of the Northern Ireland Protocol being used, that's the mechanism by which the Brexit problem of a border between the Irish Sea, as it's sort of called, would allow to exist, allowing the status quo of the north of Ireland maintaining its part of being part of the United Kingdom and not having a hard border on the island of Ireland, of course. But the issue is that the full Brexit controls have not happened yet in the north, in England broadly, and a video also surfaced yesterday of Boris Johnson at a party during the Brexit campaign, stating to a man who delivers a lot of goods from the north of Ireland to the rest of the United Kingdom. He was said categorically, that wouldn't be the case. Have them call his office and tell them, oh, it's rubbish. Oh, yes, it's rubbish. And so the thing is,
that's Boris, was it?
Yeah, this is Boris at a party with a drink in his hand, telling people proudly that Brexit will be very, very good and that extra customs controls for the north of Ireland would not happen, which, as we all sadly know, have happened. And it may all get much, much worse in the near future with increased violence. And for those who have no other option, it is just, yeah.
Okay. Well, Heber, thank you very much for that, and for keeping us up to date on that. The Irish Examiner: Corbett children prepared to give evidence at Martin's retrial. They were let out on bail today. Molly Martin's and her father. Have you been following this case at all?
Not as much myself. No.
Right. Okay. Any thoughts at all on it?
Well, the trial continues early, and it does rankle quite a few when someone gets out very, very early, and it is the kind of thing where, oh yes, he's in the States.
Will I just play this, Heber, just briefly?
Yeah, please.
Conditions require both to agree to surrender their passports and not.
And it'll take to get out, but he's happy. He's happy to see. We hope that they're out by some point today.
How are they feeling at the moment, your client?
Well, I've spoken to our client, Mr. Martins, briefly afterwards, but he's got to go through whatever processing it'll take to get out. But he's happy. He's happy to see his wife. He's happy to see his children.
And Brian, any reaction from the Corbett side?
Yeah. So that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not up to date on that story.
Okay. Well, okay. Not to worry.
All a spade is spade.
It's a bit awkward when it's the main story of it. But not to worry. We'll find a story that you have for you about it. Hairdress is set to open at the start of May. Good news, Heber, or bad news?
I will need it.
Officials pack continues use of AstraZeneca jab. We'll come on to that in a second. Are you a football guy? FAI looking to future as Eurogame set to be lost?
On occasion, I've supported the Sligo Rovers and been out, but I can't admit I'm a massive fan. But
okay, well, not having a great success with the stories. The Echo, I'll die without help. Cork woman has spoken about how she fears she will die unless she can get inpatient treatment for anorexia and bulimia. I imagine, like a lot of people, the waiting list for regular treatment, is
less urgent conditions,
longer and longer.
It is in a sense the hangover the nation's health will feel for years and years to come from the past year. How the waiting lists will eventually try and catch up, which were bad even before the pandemic kicked in.
I mean, we were the HSC was heavily in trouble before any of this, wasn't it? It's always been in trouble, to be fair.
Yeah, and sort of it's argued that the reason why it always has been in trouble has been from the influence of Charles McQuaid, the famous Archbishop of Dublin, and his reaction against the mother and baby homes healthcare scheme of the 1950s, and how the Catholic Church was given quite a degree of considerable influence over Irish healthcare back in the day, and how the bureaucratic structures we now still have are a result of that.
Yeah, partly to blame, yeah, indeed. Sligo Weekender, this is your local, Heber.
Indeed.
To keep ATMs in two towns. It's sort of a kind of a global issue, really, isn't it? Trying to get a cash machine. And there's only two remaining.
That refers to Ballymote and Tuppercurry.
Yeah, there's just two left in both those, or just one each.
One each, yeah. And I mean, there is the argument that, some retailers will give cash back, but it is a problem. I mean, some places in the past would have a roving ATM on wheels that would come by, like you might have in music festivals for rural areas that would come on certain days of the week to provide cash for areas. But it's really a problem. But the way it is, cash is dying, and that very topic is something I've been meaning to write on for some time, because as far as it is, it's a change. It's an attack on the poor by limiting physical cash within society, and it's all well and good to say, everyone should move to cards for payments, but small retailers have to pay fees of 2 to 4% per transaction, and other fees on top of that to simply process a payment.
Yeah, and why doesn't the credit union set up an ATM, or even the local community get together and put one together? You know, obviously the banks are departing. You know, they're getting out.
Yeah,
of the people business. You know,
the people business. They're very, very expensive human resources of any people business. Well, the big thing is that interest rates.
The post office to have an ATM, maybe.
Yeah, I think that is the only way forward. Longer term, on post do provide types of banking services, but when interest rates are very, very low and continue to get lower on a broad macroeconomic level, it creates a big problem for banks to maintain profitability when they can't make enough money from traditional mortgages or lending. Just to note there from the Sligo Weekender as well, Arturo means great change at Hazelwood. That is a new whiskey distillery that has started up at the old Sehan videotape factory. They have begun producing their own whiskey.
Wow.
And they have very, very small varieties of it for sale. I haven't tried it yet of that, but fair play to them.
Great.
And also the family there on the front page, they are the Burns. Kieran Byrne there with the sunglasses. He is the founder of a local PR firm, actually, Story Lab. He was a former deputy editor of the Irish Independent.
Really?
Yes, and so he decided to move to the Northwest to raise his family and make a total change about 5 years ago.
Yeah, wasn't he editor of the Sunday?
And the Business Post for a while, I believe.
Right.
But
So
yeah, he's been going from strength to strength, and
that's great, isn't it?
and loving it. So he does a lot of work for local businesses and all the foreign direct investment that comes into the Northwest.
Oh, that's great, and complete lifestyle change and everything.
Yeah, and it's something he he celebrates a lot as how other people could do it, just to find business opportunities elsewhere. If you have the gumption, the get-go, you can make it happen.
Yeah, well, good on him. And a deterrent for Sligo, at least, is house prices. And they're suggesting that the Normal People show is going to lead to an increase in house prices in Sligo.
I look forward to reading that.
Yeah. The Clare Echo Money Point exclusive from Port McMahon. Major new plans for Money Point are to be announced, which will see it become the country's flagship offshore wind energy development centre, I guess, capital. So that's exciting if you're into the wind business or wind energy. Or no,
well, there's a long way to go. I mean, there was a coal plant that is being shut down, a solid fuel plant, and the diversification of Ireland's energy sector is something that will take a very, very long time to happen. But one of the criticisms,
you got the cash and carry coal up above here, so that free delivery just above it. So.
Yeah, maybe that was deliberate.
The Daily Telegraph: keep taking AstraZeneca vaccine, say family of clot victim.
Yes, so as mentioned before in previous weeks, it is now more official. The risk of blood clots and death from taking the AstraZeneca vaccine, it is about 1 in a million, and it is deemed officially as an acceptable risk. And that's a very, very hard pill for anyone who's lost a loved one in those circumstances to swallow.
Yeah.
But it is that the cruelty of the law of averages, the tragedy.
Would you take the AstraZeneca?
I would, though, in the winter, after when the opportunity comes, I may, yes, in the winter.
If the Beacon guy rang you and said, "Listen, Heber, I've got some of the Zeneca. Do you want to? I can meet you around the back of." Would you take it? Would you take a jab?
Well, if I got that kind of a phone call, no.
Well, I'm not personally administered by the Beacon guy, but I mean, would you take the AstraZeneca jab? The both doses. I know that, but Bernard Purcell, who editor of the Irish World, he was with us last night. He had the first dose. He had some side effects, like he didn't feel great the day after or so, but and he's going for the second dose, so he's committed to them. So would you?
I may do. I'm still cautious. My honest feeling is maybe I'd wait for the Pfizer vaccine or one of the others in due course. In any event,
1 in a million anyway is
1 in a million. 1 in a million. But of course, like anything, the 1 in a million things do happen, and we do hear about them, even though they are 1 in a million. There is, for example, an average odds of winning the Irish Lotto of 1 in 8 million.
Yeah.
Or the Euro Millions of 320 million to 1 against. And you do certainly hear of those Lotto winners. But for those few winners, there are so many players.
Yeah. The Independent now under 30s to stop receiving an Oxford vaccine. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, don't worry. You'll be fine, Heber. Just grand. They're just being overly cautious.
Overly cautious.
They are, aren't they? I mean, they're just being snowflakes, to be fair. What's a bit of mRNA gene therapy, between friends? Full speed ahead on vaccine rollout. The Jet Express. Britain's vaccine rollout will continue as planned despite a safety warning to younger people over the AstraZeneca jab. AstraZeneca jab ruled out for under 30s. Bent bars. Quite a strong headline in the European.
Why such arresting indifference to charges of corruption in public office?
Yeah. You could put stick Leo there or any of them?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. How would Leo
cope with that? Yeah.
I'm not sure even the Phoenix magazine would do that for Leo.
Yeah, and New York Times vaccinating 560 million in China. They're using ice cream to like a spoonful of sugar to get them to take it, I guess. Or they're going to put it in the ice cream. Yeah.
Every bit helps. And on the front there we have trapped in rebel-held Syria, the millions displaced now year after year in refugee camps from the war in Syria that invariably has shattered the lives of millions. And once someone is in a refugee camp, it's very, very hard for them to go back to normality as if it never happened. The economy of the country is shattered, and I don't see an easy solution. The way it is.
This is the Spectator. Vaccine passports offer freedom. It's a very odd kind of approach that Matthew Parris is a former Tory MP.
Well, the Irish Times.
Sorry.
The Irish Times actually today has brought out an article questioning the long-term aspects of a vaccine passport. How would it be fair on a civil liberties aspect to those who maybe can't get the vaccine for whatever reason, and creating a two-tiered society? What does that say? And that the only acceptable way such kind of controls can be put in is in a specific and time-limited fashion, as mentioned before.
But they say that from one side of the mouth, but then the Irish Times are kind of behind all of the, the fear projection. They're one minute they're whipping it up, and the next minute they're saying, "Well, these are civil liberties, and we must be careful."
Yes,
they whip up the. They're having it both ways, really. Sorry.
Well, they have to sell papers. Let's not forget that. And that sometimes is part and parcel of what goes forward in journalism. The story that alarms people and makes people think, "Oh, that's bad," will sell the papers, because we are always tuned to pick up on stories that are bad news rather than good news. That is always something there. But my personal opinion is that I don't think we would have a long-term use of a vaccine passport.
Great, good. Would you? You're the younger people would feel that too. I mean, your friends would be of that opinion, even those who were very pro lockdown, pro measures. Would you say?
I know one or two who are certainly concerned about it. I can't speak fully and broadly in terms of everyone.
No.
But I those who do mention it just do so more on the sake of it's a big concern. What could happen type thing.
Yeah. Under 30 should get alternatives to AstraZeneca, say jab advisors. And Broadsheet and guidance, EU agency sees links to blood clots, maker defense benefits.
There's another interesting story. I don't know if you can see it on the Financial Times. It mentions a recent election in Greenland. Yes, well, you're just about there where your cursor is. Essentially, a left-wing party got elected in Greenland, and they are anti-mining in the way it has been done since the 1970s, and they want to change how mining goes forward. And it's rather interesting when we consider the geopolitical aspects of how Greenland has been in the news last year or so, or year before.
Trump buy it? Didn't Trump suggest buying it?
Exactly. Trump had offered to buy it in a kind of, like Alaska type situation, expand the great American empire just by dollars that are just printed out of nowhere, just buy it. But so Greenland does have some level of autonomy from Denmark itself. It has a devolved government. And this new political shift within Greenland is perhaps a reaction to that in the past, and also how, as far as I have heard, life there is not easy for the locals, and certainly not getting any better when the traditional ways of life are declining very, very fast with the melt.
Right. Oh, the warming.
Yes.
Right.
With
Okay.
climate change.
Okay. You're so woke, Heber.
Referring to the international climate catastrophe as the melt.
Well, no, but you you adhere to you're in step with the millennial, anxieties. I think you echo the
Well, I
Thunbergian doom-laden.
some might put their attentions on the latest in the Premiership. I do on the international news.
Yes, no, and I'm very grateful for it. But I hope you don't get too depressed, though. I mean, the Racing Post Tiger Roars into Aintree. I don't think that's the golfer. Grand National Hero Tiger Roll is back this time. Day one features the Betway Bowl in his side. See, do you do anything?
My racing knowledge only goes so far.
Okay, this is the star. This little piggy saved after leap to freedom on trip to the abattoir. The pork shank redemption.
Well, we mentioned Denmark, of course. Denmark produced 90% of Europe's supply of pork.
Yeah,
right? They do a very, very big supply of it, and also shipping. They produce the likes of the Ever Given ship that blocked the Suez Canal. They produce.
They build that. They built that.
Oh yeah, they build the massive ships.
Right.
For the Western companies, they produce most of them. But the other article there.
I saw that the GPS on that.
Indeed. The other article on the cover of the Star there that you looked at, don't call the aliens.
Don't annoy aliens.
Don't annoy aliens. This was an article. Oh yeah, sorry, that's the Mail, not the Star.
No, it is the Star.
Oh, it is the Star. Okay.
Yeah.
It was discussed a bit past day or two that the current SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence efforts, would be a bad thing, that any alien race coming further to Earth would be like Christopher Columbus coming to the Indians, that it would be bad for the Indians. And this is
so don't annoy them, don't upset them. That's what they're saying. Don't
no, it's not put as that. It's put as that the simple effort to call out, asking for attention from whatever might there beyond would be a bad thing, and that could result in our destruction. But as far as I see it, though,
it's good advice.
With climate change as it is, we're not going to really survive long term.
So we might as well annoy them.
Perhaps.
What have we got to lose? Maybe they'll do a better job than we at running the gas.
Sure, it makes some Hollywood movies come to life.
I, for one,
you welcome our great overlords, do you?
I do. I can just on this headline in the Star. Best headline that was never used, I think, was after Conrad Gallagher, the chef. He was charged with taking paintings. He hadn't done it. He was extracting, they said, but the headline was "The Lamb Shank Redemption," which is quite good. Yeah, better than the pork show. Anyway.
Very good.
You, apart from worrying about the state of everything being in a state of chassis, what else have you been doing this week?
What else have I been up to?
What else will you be doing? What have you planned for this week then yourself?
Oh, no, not at the moment. Lockdown continues. It's
a lot of Zoom calls and
Yeah, it's difficult to think of one day to the next sometimes, because a weekend generally doesn't feel that much different from the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Right.
on the other aspect, hopefully restaurants will open up once again, and there will be some reality of normality coming forward in 2 weeks thereabouts,
Yeah.
maybe even less. It is just never ending how it's
Never ending.
and
It's like yeah.
and also I bumped into an acquaintance this week who told me about her aunt who went to hospital for some other condition, and while she was there she caught the bug, and then when she came back from hospital all of her family got infected, and so she herself ended up being out of work for 8 weeks.
Right.
Between the recovery and everything else, and one of her relatives was in ICU. Everyone survived, but other people on that ICU did not.
Oh.
Yeah, and it really kind of hits home sometimes, where you think of these stories as the inconsequential to one's personal life, but it is happening. I mean, there is the suffering that is happening to people who you mightn't know that well personally, but it is going on.
Yeah, well, I hope you stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
Heber, and hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday night.
Thanks very much, John.
Okay, thank you too, Heber, and thanks very much, and see you on the site tomorrow.